Watch for tonight's winning numbers.
Take 5 live, next on Eyewitness News.
This is the Tri-State Area's news leader, Channel 7 Eyewitness News, with Bill Butel, Diana Williams, Scott Clark with sports, Sam Champion with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
It's happened again. A 911 call goes unanswered for almost 3 hours, and it breaks a promise Rudy Giuliani made in July when we showed some city streets don't exist in 911 computers.
Good evening, I'm Bill Butel.
And I'm Diana Williams.
And tonight we begin with an Eyewitness News exclusive. A street that is not on the map, almost impossible for the police to find when they got a call for help. 2 months ago, that kind of foul-up had the mayor promising no more missing streets. So what's gone wrong? Lucy Yang has our report. She's live tonight in Staten Island. Good evening, Lucy.
Good evening, Bill. Residents along this quiet dead-end street thought they were safe in their brand new homes until they learned of a frightening problem that 911 does not work for them. That as far as emergency services was concerned, this neighborhood does not exist. Rosemarie Brescia accidentally set off her house alarm last Saturday and was told police were on their way. So she waited outside to let them know it was a false alarm. Except she waited and waited and waited.
The police finally did show up at about 4:30. My alarm went off at 1:41. And that was after I had made several phone calls. If, God forbid, I had been hurt and unable to make any of these phone calls, they would have never found me. And it's a little scary.
The problem? Berry Court, which is a new development, has not been entered into the 911 system and is not yet on the map. Berry Court is not alone. Eyewitness News first broke the story about the lapse in the system this summer when Vincent Pandoliano suffered a heart attack. Rescue workers couldn't find his street, Pelican Circle, because it wasn't in the system. Pandoliano eventually died at the hospital. The mayor then promised to fix 911.
Someone said to me that it could take as long as 2 years to get an address in. I said, we'll change that to 5 days.
That was back in July. While Pelican Circle is now in 911, Berry Court still is not. This despite a letter from Staten Island Borough President Guy Molinari 5 years ago alerting emergency services that these new streets would soon be built. The mayor tonight directed our questions to his director of emergency management, who could not explain how the block fell through the cracks, but added just today the city took steps to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Under this executive order, these types of issues are not acceptable, and they will be in the system.
Now, under the mayor's executive order, which he signed just today, instead of after the fact, from now on, developers will have to alert the city to new streets even before they begin building the homes so that the new addresses can be plugged into the system immediately. As for Berry Court, as we speak, it is still not in 911, but officials assure me it should be activated shortly. In the meantime, police add they are scouting for other streets which may have been overlooked. We're live in Staten Island tonight. Lucy Yang, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Lucy. The new school year is taking a deadly turn. One boy killed, 2 others hurt when knives flashed in a subway argument among students from 3 high schools. It happened at the Broadway and 145th Street station in Harlem. That's where Jim Dolan picks up the story. Jim?
Diana, it was a couple hours after school let out this evening when, as you say, 3 groups of students from 3 separate high schools ended up here at the 145th Street subway station at the same time. It is not yet clear what they argued about or how many people were involved, but it is all too clear now that at some point in the end, knives were pulled, 3 students were stabbed, one of them, a 14-year-old boy, died, and not even those involved seem to understand why. It is the pain that only a mother could know, a sorrow that started tonight and will not end. Her 14-year-old son, Frank Mendoza, was stabbed to death during an argument so mundane, even some of those involved couldn't later explain what it was all about. Whatever led to it, 3 people were stabbed. Mendoza was killed and 2 others, a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old, were injured. They didn't wait for the ambulance to come. Instead, they
ran out of the train station, hopped in a taxi, and went to the hospital. He must have not been stabbed too bad. And then they said, the people outside said there was a kid downstairs that was dead.
Investigators carefully combed through the subway station where the argument started and where it ended. taking blood samples from the floor and later carrying evidence into the 3-0 precinct for analysis. Friends gathered at Harlem Hospital tonight to console one another and family members after the sudden, still unexplained death.
Can't really talk. He was a good guy. That's what. He was somewhere in the wrong time. That's what I can say.
Half hour or so before this fatal knife fight, police were actually called to the same station because these same students were loud and at least one subway worker thought potentially dangerous. Apparently they issued a couple of summonses and moved on. 30 minutes later, police were back, this time investigating a homicide. Reporting live from Harlem, Jim Dolan, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Jim, very much. Severe storms this evening left a path of destruction in parts of our area, particularly in Passaic County, New Jersey. High winds in West Milford knocked down about 100 trees, damaged several homes and cars. The National Weather Service does not know yet if it was a tornado that hit. In any event, about 2,000 GPU customers lost power when the winds did hit. On Long Island, fire officials in Hempstead say a fire that killed a baby may have been a case of arson. Amateur video shows a man climbing onto a ladder to escape the flames and the smoke. But a 22-month-old girl could not be rescued. Investigators think someone dragged a mattress into a third-floor hallway and set it afire. Residents say it's the latest in a series of fires in the building.
It was one, it was 3 fires set in the hallway by my door and a girl who lives across the hall from me. This morning, when I wake up my kids to get ready for work and everything, my son goes, "Mommy, it's a fire." And
Residents say the building does not have working sprinklers or fire alarms.
Judge Lauren Duckman pleaded his case today before a panel that could remove him from the bench. Duckman has been blamed for the death of a woman a year and a half ago. He reduced bail for a man who later ignored an order of protection and killed his girlfriend, Galina Komar. Outside court, Duckman denied accusations he takes orders of protection lightly. This is what he had to say outside of court.
I take domestic violence very seriously. I'm not insensitive to victims of domestic violence, but that doesn't mean that every time a case comes in and somebody says something, that they say that judges should set high bail and keep people in jail.
After Duckman spoke in court, Komar's mother had to be taken out of the room because she had been screaming at Duckman.
And you'll remember this case. Defense lawyers for the teenagers from New Jersey who are accused of murdering their newborn baby say the baby was born stillborn. Amy Grossberg and Brian Peterson are